Carry. Forward. Forward. Woo. Left. Right.
Freeze it! Out!
Left. Right. Left. Right. Left. Left. Right. Left. Go left. Right. Left. Go left. Right. Left. Go left. Right. Left. Go left. Right. Left. Detail. Halt. Left. Hey.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Present. Four.
Forsaken you see by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and the brightest stars through the perilous fight.
Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Veterans, present arms. Present arms.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arms. Ready. Go.
being here is uncover, honor God. Lord God, you are awesome. Thank you for blessing us to live in the greatest country of the world. God, we're here to rededicate a memorial in the honor of the men and women who served this country in Vietnam. We were mostly young, new soldiers, scared some of the time, but doing our duty. We were patriots, and I was proud to serve our country with my brothers. And I still get a tear in my eye and a lump in my throat when I hear the Stars Spangled Banner and think of those times. We came home, some came home to you. Most of us back into the world, the good old U.S.A.F. We ask you to please be with our armed forces now, and we ask for your protection and care to bring them home to us. And God, we recently called home our brother Anthony Montagna. Lord, we miss him. He was a good soldier, father, brother, and husband.
I think our first speaker will be Ralph Galati, U.S. Air Force. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thanks everybody gathered today for remembering our county soldiers who served honorably during the Vietnam War. I'll talk a little bit about duty, honor, and sacrifice, and a bit about my personal experiences as a prisoner of war in North Vietnam. And hopefully through that you get a better sense of why it's so important to honor brave men and women, and we dedicate this monument. The average age of the soldiers serving in the Vietnam War was 22. Of the 58,000 plus who died, almost 12,000 were less than 20 years old. Our youngest and finest, leaving behind everything for a future that would never come. When our troops came home from the Vietnam War in the 60s and 70s, either on leave or after their tour of duty, they could not wear their uniforms in public. They were not ashamed, it just wasn't safe for them to do so. It was easier than facing humiliation. They encountered an angry and hostile American public. A good day was being ignored, maybe not being spat on, being called baby killers and drug addicts and warmongers, and the take its toll. Hostility and indifference marked their return. When a young soldier left the military, they were not welcome to join some veterans organizations. They were too contagious. And this young veteran who had just proudly served his country tried to find a job, he had to often conceal his military service. How do you think it must have felt to fight in battle, watch your brothers die in combat, serve your country, and still return home with dignity, and yet not be honored or appreciated for your service? They were rightfully proud, but they couldn't show it. For decades, it was veterans taking care of veterans and brothers helping their own. There was no welcome home. Fortunately, times have changed. We now have a renewed respect for our service members, and rightfully so. As citizens, you might disagree with our government. You might not support a particular conflict, but at least today you respect the soldiers and the seamen and the airmen and the Marines that have honorably served our country. My situation as a prisoner of war was a lot different than most veterans. You're a captive of the enemy. What do you do now? You try to resist, survive, communicate, escape, not knowing what might happen to you next. Interrogation or torture or propaganda. You're probably still listed as missing in action, and your thinking was your captors can kill me now and no one would be the wiser. It was time to begin to act like a military officer again. You had excellent training, sometimes at a military academy. You had to realize now that your mission had changed. It was time to adapt. Your rule book was now the code of conduct. Six simple articles designed to help the service member survive honorably as a prisoner of war and still resist their captors and their efforts to exploit them. They seem simple enough until you get to the very first one, where it says, I'm an American and I'm prepared to give my life in the defense of my country. So why was it so important for POWs to fight and endure such harsh treatment? Part of it was the code of conduct, and part of it was because we were military officers who now had a new mission thrust upon us. It was to resist to the best of our ability and return home with honor and dignity. But mostly it was because we could do no less than to honor our fellow soldiers who fought with us and for us, some of whom are here today, and especially those who died in battle. How shameful would it be for the 600 POWs in North Vietnam to act helplessly when we knew so many were fighting to save us? How could we live with ourselves after so many lives were lost? How could we not give our all each day, just like our American servicemen were doing in the battlefield? So we survived and resisted and fought every day to complete the mission, to fight to the end, and never give up, and to return home with honor and dignity. It's not about being a POW, it's all about duty, honor, and sacrifice, not about heroism or bravery. It's been said, until you've had your freedom denied, only then do you realize what we have in this great country of ours. Freedom has a taste to those who fight and almost die, and the protected will never know. After I was released from North Vietnam in the camp known as the Hanoi Hilton, I was welcomed home by my neighborhood and our citizens. There were about 600 of us aviator types that were released from Hanoi in the spring of 1973. It was quite a homecoming. And yet it was uncomfortable and distorted. For some reason it was okay to be a returning POW, but it was not okay to be the average soldier. 3.5 million soldiers served, 58,000 died, another 300,000 injured, and yet where was the welcome home for them? They served with honor and heroism. They were proud of their country, proud of the flag, and proud of their military service. And it would be years until the Vietnam Memorial was built. The POW MIA flag that's represented here would fly with pride and distinction. And the soldier felt that he was finally welcomed home, maybe finally a chance to show their pride. So when you see us old guys, I feel very comfortable today. I might not be the oldest guy in the crowd. Some of the guys with beards and ponytails, riding their Harleys, displaying their military patches, thanked them for their service. and read their patches. It's their credo, their badges of honor. When you go to a parade or civic event and you see Warriors Watch Riders and Rolling Thunder and a Hero's Welcome, thank them for their service. When you go home tonight, maybe thank your mom and dad or your brother or your aunt or uncle who served our country. I know they'll be glad to be remembered and appreciated. They're proud Americans. Please remember that our service members served bravely and wanted nothing more than to return home with honor. For those who did not return home, we remember and honor them today as well. For there's no greater love than to give one's life to your friend. I've had a really great opportunity to speak to many events over the last 40 years, and at every event, one group that is always present, without fail, are Vietnam veterans. Amazing the irony that today, those who help us remember most are those who are most forgotten. They will never let us forget. I received a coin by one veteran one time, and the inscription on the coin said, "We have your backs here at home. Never again will an American warrior be scorned or ignored." It's at a time and place like this when we realize how common and identical we are. In the presence of these monuments and flags, soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines are equal. No rank, no seniority, no privilege. Just service members, brothers in arms. Whether you volunteered or were drafted, enlisted or officer, academy graduate or high school dropout, we all pledged the same oath of allegiance and agreed to the same code of conduct. Article 1 says it. I'm an American fighting in the forces which guard my country and our way of life. I'm prepared to give my life in their defense. I spent over 30 years in the business world after I left the Air Force, and I don't remember that ever being in my job description. Two short quotes, one from a Major League Baseball player who served in World War II. And when asked about his career, he didn't talk about baseball. He said, "Imagine the gaps in my character as a man had I not served." And Gary Sinise, who's a really strong veterans advocate, said, "A man doesn't die until he's forgotten." We certainly have not forgotten today in Chatsworth. So remember, veterans are just ordinary people. They're our fellow citizens, but we may have had some unique wartime experiences and sometime called upon to do some extraordinary things. To all the Vietnam veterans here today, welcome home. To the families of our fallen heroes, a grateful nation and local community, thank you for your enduring sacrifice. And thanks for the great privilege of allowing me to speak to you today.
If I die, then let me die, but let them
Again, on the program, Anthony Montagno was supposed to play taps, but as mentioned earlier, he passed away a couple weeks ago. So a lot of this is in memory for Anthony.
Aim, fire! Aim, fire! Aim, fire! Cease firing! Present, hold! Oh. Left. Forward. Oh. Left. Your left. Your left. Right. Left. Your left. Your left. Your left. Right. Left. Your left. Your left.